Hello and welcome to the Confusion Wrestling Podcast, the last bastion of independent wrestling. I'm your host, Rob Kammer, and, well, what should we talk about this week? As a whole, there's not a whole lot of stuff going on. We could probably, I don't know where my time frames are. Times mean nothing. We could probably talk about WWE releases, but, like, eh, eh. It's kind of old news by the point that by the time this podcast has come out, I don't think I'd add anything new or unique perspective-wise to that, and especially fantasy booking-wise, everyone and their mothers already kind of got themselves into things, so really no need to go there. So let's just kind of jump in and talk about our guest this week. This week I had NWA World League Wrestling. There we go. Major League Wrestling is a thing of the past. It's just an offshoot of CMLL now. Joking aside, but World League Wrestling. NWA World League Wrestling Ladies Champion Skylar Sparks in the studio. I got to sit down and talk to her for a bit, hear her story. Both of us agree upon being the biggest, gnarliest heel you can be, and go off on various topics throughout her career, and how she's kind of brought up in World League Wrestling as it was. So yeah, it was really cool being able to sit down and talk with her for a bit. Even got a chance to shout out the Card Subject Change podcast. Not that I don't do it terribly often anyway, but I got to do an impromptu 2-minute set, we'll call it a set anyway, with them at the local card show. It's blanking out what the official name is, so it's I believe the May 3rd episode of Card Subject Change. You can find that on YouTube or wherever you may get your podcasts involved with that. But it's cool being able to talk to them and hang out with some other wrestlers that they got to have as part of the show as well. So it's a really good time to have it all. But more importantly, this is, I guess, my podcast, so we should probably talk about what's going on over here in Confusion Land, and that is Skylar Sparks. So let's go ahead and take a pause for the cause, because you know how I hate to interrupt an interview. We like to have our interviews all in one chunk, baby. That's how we do things here. So I was going to say, if you've made it this far, you can skip to about minute 3:30, but you've already made it this far. So let's go get us an energy drink, go get some coffee, maybe even a coffee maker. We'll be back. Un momento. Hey folks, MLW Confusion's become a veritable hub of shopping and treats and all that sort of good stuff. Whether you need a sugar-free alternative to energy drinks in the form of Raise Energy, or maybe even, top-of-the-line ice makers, coffee machines, and other household appliances, or, well, let's go crazy, and you can even get WWE licensed apparel, all through my links section. All you got to do is wander down to the descriptor of this week's episode, check out the various links, click on them, and go shopping like you normally would. Heck, it's no difference. You just came in and just said Rob sent you. And that way, you can get the things you need, maybe even at a discount, and the podcast gets a kickback as well. So be sure to check out those links. Thank you very much for listening. Back to the show. And we are back. The Confusion Wrestling Podcast. With me today is NWA World League Wrestling Ladies Champion Skylar Sparks. Skylar, how are you doing this evening?
I'm good. I can't complain. I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I can't complain either. It's finally getting to be beautiful out. We'll see how long it lasts here in the Midwest, but
I know that's right. It's like 70 degrees here right now.
I know. I left the house for work early this morning. It was kind of chilly, and then come back and started typing up my reports, and it's getting warm. And then looked at the weather app, and oh, it's 75 degrees. When did that happen? But welcome to the Midwest. You blink, and now it's something entirely different.
It is. It is. As they say, if you don't like the weather, just stay another hour.
Exactly. But enough about the weather. Let's talk about you for a moment. So, I always like to start off the podcast with the always super original, like never before asked question. What got you into professional wrestling? What made you a fan of the sport?
It's actually it is actually kind of a full circle story here, so I'll try to make it short and to the point. But when I was, I don't even know how old I was, maybe like 8, 7 or 8, somewhere in that age bracket. My aunt, she lives down at the Lake of the Ozarks in Missouri. And if anybody knows anything about World League Wrestling, that is where Harley Race had his company for a very, very long time. World League Wrestling, that's where it was for, I don't know the exact amount of time, but it was there for a while. And I had always watched wrestling on TV, and my aunt was doing a fundraiser for them. So she was working like the concession stands, and she knew that I loved wrestling, at least watching it on TV. So she asked me one day, she's like, "Hey, do you wanna go to this?" And I was like, "Do I wanna go to it?" Like, yeah, of course I wanna go to it. So my very first like in-person experience of professional wrestling was Harley Race's World League Wrestling. So I went to a show for the very first time and like fell in love with it, right? I was just a casual watcher on TV. I was like, "Oh, that looks fun. That looks exciting." And then I actually watched it in person and I was like, I think I want to do this. I not even I think I want to do this, like I want to do this. So that was my first like true experience, true exposure to wrestling for like the first time.
I've said on podcast, off podcast, like the best way to experience wrestling is just live in general because it is a whole nother beast compared to watching it on TV.
Oh yeah.
Especially once you're of age enough to start yelling things and being a part of like being part of the event yourself, cheering and booing and all the other interactions you can have in between.
Oh yeah. Like the I just remember being there, and ironically enough I had front row seats, so I'm pretty sure she, pulled some strings to get me there. But I had front row seats, and I just remember being able to just sit there and like boo the bad guys. I was like, I hate you guys. I can't stand you guys. And then cheering, the good guys and saying, you got this. Like, beat him down, all this stuff. And it was just one of the most like entertaining, fun experiences that I've ever had. And then just growing up in high school and school in general, I was very athletic. I was always into sports. So being able to combine entertaining people and athleticism into one, I was like, this is like an eye-opening experience. Like, this is what I want to do now."
And I think it's interesting you bring up the entertainment aspect of it because I've had a couple people on the show who's done theater like in the meanwhile and like have talked about like the dichotomy of just doing theater compared to wrestling in terms of just psychology and then by proxy like the actual physical aspect of it, whether you're going in the round or just if you're in like some random wrestling venue, say like well I pointed out that there recently we've had some events locally like in an actual theater where the it's on
Yeah.
like the ring is on stage, so you really only have the one direction to work at. But so did you have any theater experience in school or well, outside of school as well, like local theater?
The only theater experience that I had was building the props for the actual shows. So I didn't have any like actual on stage experience, but there was always, and I don't know why. I don't think theater was really my like forte, but in high school at least because I was more focused on sports and stuff. But as I started to understand what, professional wrestling is, the entertainment side of me wanted to get into it because I was like, I love soliciting a reaction from people, good, bad, indifferent, or no reaction. Just being able to have that control over somebody, like you have the control to make them hate you, despise you, or love you. um and that is what was fascinating to me. It's almost like a dark psychology kind of dynamic for me.
So the way you've described it, did you always gravitate towards the heels, the bad guys?
Oh, I love being the bad guy. I told one of my friends the other day, I said, in my wrestling career, I will never strive to be cheered a day in my life. If I am never cheered again in my wrestling career, I will be happy because typically, I'm not like the greatest. I'm not a good person. I'm not a baby face at all. I am always usually typically a heel anywhere I go. And it is just it's so exhilarating. It's such an adrenaline rush. People booing you, disliking you, saying some very offhanded things to you, man. There's nothing like it to me.
As a professional good person, like I would view it almost as like therapeutic because I can like in my like not that I'm a performer in any stretch of the imagination, but like my thought of it is just you're allowed to almost like a court jester kind of thing. Like you're allowed to say like the unfiltered truth about anything you see,
Oh,
and
yeah.
within reason. You're not going to get within reason, of course, but and you're not going to get in trouble for it. In fact, you're gonna be told you got a good job. You did a good job off of that.
Oh, there was a promotion that I had worked for. I was the bad guy, and man, I had no filter, like zero filter. I wasn't dropping like f bombs here or there, but like, and here's the best part: it was in a church, so it was like double. I was like, man, I feel like I got some bad karma coming my way, but no, it's so much fun being the bad guy. That's so much fun because you get to break all the rules. Now, normal outside of wrestling, I don't break the rules because I'm not looking to spend time anywhere that I don't want to spend. But in wrestling, like you get that outlet to break all the rules that you want to.
I agree. As I said, I view it as like almost like cathartic, and if nothing else, like I think it's also. I mean, if we're going to pull the curtain back, uh, very good psychology. If you are reprehensible, that makes the person who beats you, that much better of a person, or a character. Hopefully, that indirectly you've been able to put them over.
Oh yeah, yeah. And that's what it's really about. At the end of the day, it's really about you know making sure the fans are satisfied, whether that's entertained or they think it's a great match or however they feel satisfied after they leave a show, then you've done a good job. If they leave that show and they're just kind of like that was boring, that you didn't do your job as a professional wrestler. And I always try to let the fans leave hating me even more than when they walked in. And sometimes, like when you work at a promotion, um, often it's hard to top what you did last time. So I'm always trying to think, man, what can I do today to make people hate me more than when they first walked in this door?
I always like in my head like the greatest compliment I can pay is like, man, I want to slap the taste out of their mouth, and it's
I think it was like a couple months ago. It was a couple months ago. I was in a match with Cameron Burnett, and naturally, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to keep my title, and I'll let other people go watch the actual ending of that match. But what I did made this one man, I just remember this very vividly. This one older gentleman stood up out of his chair and yelled, F you, Skylar. I was like, dang, man. I was like, oh my God. I was like, somebody walk me to my car.
they get shanked like the old days. Harley race to
Right.
be proud off that one.
He would be, and he should be. Because, they always say, what would Harley do? Harley would do that. You'd be proud.
My problem is there's one local guy I love to hate, and like I feel bad like talking about how I really want to slap him because we've confirmed that that his mother is an ardent listener of the program, and it feels weird of me like talking about her baby, like how I want to just smack him because he's such a
Well,
dickbag. But he's doing like I do try to qualify, like she's aware, like she knows what he does, like, but it's just still kind of like weird telling someone like I want to like indirectly telling someone I want to slap your kid, especially when the kid
that's,
is 25 years old or
yeah.
whatever.
That's so funny because at Worldly Wrestling, my mom, she actually sells the merchandise. Like she's the merch person for World League, right? So no affiliation to me, but people know that that's my mom, and they will like she'll tell me some things that they say, and she's like, and I don't know how to respond. I'm like, you just don't respond. You just go about your merry way. Sell them a T-shirt. tell them everything will be okay. And she's always just like, I can't believe they would say that. And I'm like, well, I can. Wrestling fans, they hold a grudge.
See, I don't know. My mom would probably do like mental gymnastics to like if I would cheat in a match or something like that. My mom would just do the mental gymnastics as to like why her precious baby would stoop that low. Obviously, that mean opponent was already cheating first or something of the like, and
Oh,
never
yeah.
never mind that. Never mind that I'm just not a good person. But
It's always justified. This is my thing. Everything the bad guy does in a match, it's always justified in some way, shape, or form. Now, it may only be justified in our heads, but that's all that matters.
wow. And if nothing else, wrestling is a competition. If you have to put your feet on the ropes to make sure you win and get the winner's share of the purse or keep your championship,
Right, you think I you
who are
think
we to judge?
you think I'm just gonna lay down and let someone beat me for my championship? Like, I'm not gonna do everything that I possibly can. I bend the rules a little bit, circumvent the rules a little bit, go around them. Like, come on. There was a saying in a video game one time. Rules are like bones, they're made to be broken. I don't know how accurate that is, but I take it to heart.
I don't know. I was always a fan of the Jesse Ventura win if you can, lose if you must, always cheat.
Yeah. As Eddie Guerrero said, if you're not cheating, you're not trying.
There's so many great great quotes about cheating and wrestling specifically, but I digress. So you like indirectly you've already had like strong ties in the wrestling business itself before you got trained. So like what was that final push that got you to cross the metaphorical barricade, if you will?
Yeah, so Harley Race's World League Wrestling was down close to where my family lives, right? And my whole goal was when I'm 18, I'm moving down there, I'm training to be a wrestler, and then of course, life happens and that doesn't always happen. Um but I think the final, push was not to get too personal, but I think it's a good story for people to hear if they're ever in the same boat that I'm in. When I was 23, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. And I was like, well, I could sit here and just kind of like let this run my life, or I can run my life. And that was kind of like the final push that I kind of needed, almost having like your dream or almost having a thing that you love the most ripped away from you. And it kind of was ripped away from me for just a little bit. Having it kind of ripped away from you and realizing, like, okay, that's exactly what I want to do, and I'm not going to let anything stop me from getting there. That was, I think, kind of the last thing that pushed me over that barricade, as you say.
Oh, so you kind of had that, pardon the language, but like that oh shit moment, and if not
Exactly. Yeah.
now, possibly never.
Yeah, if not now, possibly never. So I started training when I started training in 2018. And during that time, about a couple months after 2018 and sometime in 2019, one of my doctors was like, "Yeah, no, you can't. Like, you can't do this. You got to stop. Like, it's taking too much of a toll on your body, and things just aren't really like looking the greatest right now." And so transitioned actually to being a referee. So before I ever stepped foot in a professional wrestling ring as a wrestler, I was a referee because my doctors were kind of like, pump the brakes, like, you got to stop. Um, and then one day I kind of was like, you know what? I got to the point where I was almost settling. I was almost like, okay, like, I'll be a referee. That's fine. Whatever. Like, I'm still a part of wrestling. I'm still doing what I love, but I just knew that wasn't all I wanted to do. So in 2023, I decided I'm not going to listen to the doctors. Which is so bad to say, but I don't really care because I've told it to their face many a times. I'm like, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm going to wrestle. And if my career is 5 years long, then you know what? I did it and I don't have a regret. So that's kind of the accelerated version of how I got to where I am from the day that I started training.
I was gonna like make kind of a joke of like the doctors probably don't know like that refs kind of take a beating on their bodies as well. Like I like the
That's
show's
impressive.
no friend to the the show's no friend to the referee. We constantly throw out the phrase ref bias whenever we can, but like there's a lot, running, dropping down to your knees, and all that
Oh,
sort of good stuff. Like it's still a lot of work. So I'm kind of surprised. Like I don't think your doctor realized what went into it to say like,
yeah,
oh, it's okay for you to ref.
I don't think they did either. I mean, the toll that wrestling takes on your body is leaps and bounds more than, what refereeing was taking on my body. But now I was just like, you know what? I would rather, if my career is short in the ring, and it's only, 5 years, at least I did it. At least I can say I did it, and I didn't let anyone or anything hold me back from at least stepping in the ring as a wrestler. And so far, fingers crossed, everything has been good. So it was a great it was a great chance to take.
Well, and I mean, let's face it. I mean, not to besmirch indie wrestling in general, but the beauty of wrestling is that you can kind of come and go as you please. Like it's not. I hate to make it sound like it's not a real job because obviously I respect pro wrestling. I've had this podcast way too long to like imply otherwise, but like you have the freedom to kind of pick and choose much more than you would if you worked at Subway or in a factory or
Oh yeah.
whatnot. Or if you just said like, nope, I'm not doing this. Like, oh well, you're probably not coming back Monday. Whereas wrestling, as long as you know someone, you can be there in one way, shape, or form.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah. And yeah, that's basically the accelerated version of kind of how I got to where I am right now.
And I was going to make a comment about refereeing because in my modicum of like extra research besides just watching matches, I ended up going to the Harley Race Academy, the World League Wrestling website, and they still have a picture of you in your as your ref
Ah,
in your
yes,
ref days on the site. Which I was kind of aware of its existence anyway, but then I'm like, hey, wait a second,
the
that's
retired version of me.
that that's Skylar and Stripes right there, and it shows they haven't updated the roster page in quite some
No,
time.
me too.
Which I mean, that's not a huge deal anymore because let's face it, most wrestling companies don't have a proper web page anymore because social media
No,
works just fine. Or you already know who all the wrestlers are because you've been going every week for however many years now. Uh,
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, they used to have like I feel like every company would keep their website very up to date, and I think you just said it the best. Like social media almost kind of like circumvents that. Social media is kind of like here's your website.
which like kind of makes me sad actually because like I at least in my neck of the woods, like there's a bunch of companies like running like at any given time, like within a 2 hour radius. And so like I'm not familiar with everybody. And like so my only exposure to like the talent sometimes is just the poster for that event.
Hmm.
And that's assuming everybody's even on the poster. And even then that doesn't mean their name's on it. So I don't know who this clown is that isn't like it's not a doink, it's not Frank the Clown.
It's not a doink.
I yeah, it's I don't know what clown that is, but they
Some other
but
clown.
it's some other clown. Um, but like so I gotta like go there, and then you have the oh no, I don't know if they're a good guy or a bad guy because I couldn't do proper research because it's just social media or random videos now, and
Yeah.
nothing
Yeah.
to tell me who they are, why they are, anything like that.
Yeah.
But that's just me being old and yelling at clouds again.
Not being old.
Back in my day, we used to have this thing called a website that had a roster on it.
Back in my
You'd
day,
tell me
you
a person's name,
you used to have a whole
but
biography on them.
gave me a proper championship history too. I didn't have to go to Cage Match and hope Cage Match was up to date, or Cage Match was even on that promotion at all. Uh, but
That's a good point.
but anyway, digressing. Like people have to listen to me make my bad old man yells at cloud opinions known all the time. But World League Wrestling, that has been your home base. Uh, Obviously, coming out of training there, both referee and as competitor, and you are now the ladies champion for the promotion. So how big of a deal was that for you personally to get the championship in the place that you've come up through?
you know, personally, and touching back on that previously, like I grew up watching World League Wrestling. That was my first exposure in person to professional wrestling. And so I remember women fighting for that championship. And it's just kind of like, it's just a full circle moment for me because I remember going to the shows and I remember watching the women fight for that belt. And then now to hold it and knowing the history and knowing there is a long lineage um, to that belt and knowing the people that held it, it just, it's almost it's almost satisfaction in a way. Like I did it. I didn't let anybody stop me from doing it, and I did it. And then being able to defend that title at other companies. I want to say, somebody fact check me at some point, but I think I'm one of the first people to defend women to defend that title in a different company. Now that WLW is a territory of NWA, they're trying to do the whole territories thing again. So I've defended it at one other company, and then I'm defending it this Saturday at Hooligan Championship Wrestling in Indiana. So it was it was kind of one of those, like, I made the right choice. Like I knew, taking a chance on me, that I knew what I could do. So it's a lot. There's a lot of pride behind holding that title.
And especially, like, I was gonna, you brought up the NWA connection to it. Like, does that add any more significance to holding the championship, or are you just happy? Like, I don't want to say just happy to have a championship, but in the case of World League Wrestling, since this is where like this is like the wrestling that you've been a part of, like it might supersede the NWA connection. But I'm getting off point now.
I think the NWA connection, being a part of their territory system, it is also, I keep using this phrase, but it's so accurate. It is a full circle moment because, Harley Race obviously was instrumental in NWA. Like I associate NWA with him. So being able to represent his company that he built from the ground up in a company that he also made extremely popular, it's just a it you have a lot of pride. I have a lot of pride being able to say that, I'm Harley Race's champion, but also being able to say that I'm the NWA World League Wrestling Ladies Champion. I think there's just a sense of pride for me to be able to represent him and his company and everything he stood for. It's in a capacity like that.
And I would think that would actually kind of help bolster the the level of competition now that you're facing. Not to put down anybody in World League Wrestling, but now you have a direct NWA pipeline to kind of go through as well.
Oh, absolutely. It was, I want to say, February of 2020. It had to be February of 2024. Tootie Lynn and I actually had an opportunity to wrestle Kinsey and Kylie Page at World League Wrestling. So this was prior to the NWA um, partnership. We had the opportunity to wrestle them in a tag match, and just being in the ring with two people of that caliber was so eye opening, and I hope that from this partnership, we are able to mix it up with other territories' talent or NWA talent themselves. I think there's just so much opportunity that's on the horizon that we just truly haven't tapped into our full potential yet.
And even we'll just kind of like sidestep it, but like even outside of the NWA umbrella, you brought up the Hooligan Championship Wrestling, and they're having their is it this weekend that's their tournament, or I think it was or the 17th? Like,
So so this weekend they're having their all women's event. Um, Ascend to the Queendom 2. They're bringing in a lot of great talent, a lot of great names. Some, I believe they had a few WWE ID women booked, but I think there was some scheduling obligations that kind of fell through. But they're bringing in a lot of great talent. So being able to just be in the ring, be on a show with them is truly. like it's just gonna elevate everybody's game.
No, it looks like a banger event. And spoiler alert: the Confusion Wrestling Podcast is a proud sponsor of Noel Summit for the
Mm,
eight person tag team match for the Queen during the Queen of event non-tournament action. That I felt bad because like I did had that announced. Noel's a friend of the show, and then
fair.
and then Big Mama popped on the show and like just like waited for a while and pooled all of my money and just made like a full event sponsor out of the dealio. If I'm just gonna have a bunch of a bunch of the wrestlers come on my show independent of said event, but such is life.
You know, such is life. Say la vie.
Money is finite. Luckily, good wrestling is not. Thanks to the internet and just the dearth of competition around the country right now.
For
Um,
sure.
you brought up Tootie Lynn as well. Like she's kind of been a thorn in your side throughout your career. Like how did that come about? And like do you like how do I want to phrase this? Like do like she keeps coming back into your life. Like do you have any like specific like animosity towards her, or I don't know where I was going with that question, but like you guys have
She,
tangled quite a bit over the last 18 months.
yeah, it's like I beat her down and she just keeps coming back like a little cockroach and I just can't get rid of her. Yeah, so gosh, we have a storied history. Um so in 2023, Tootie Lynn and I basically brought the women's division back at World League Wrestling. As much as I can't stand Tootie and she just is a thorn in my side, I have a lot of firsts with her, right? So she was my first match. I had my very first, televised professional wrestling match with Tootie. And then I had my first title match with Tootie. Unfortunately, she beat me, but I still believe she cheated in some way, shape, or form because there's no way I could have lost cleanly to her. Um, so I had my first match with her. I had my first title match with her. Her and I tagged together against Kinsey and Kylie Page, and then I beat her for my first title. So like we have such a history, and I'll never say this to her face, so she's just gonna have to listen to this podcast if she ever wants to hear it. I think there's a part of me in some way, shape, or form that has respect for her, but only because she's attached to my name. Other than that,
Well,
I have no kind words for her.
yeah, you know, if nothing else, you're bringing up her stock by hanging being attached to her. So you know,
She's welcome.
sometimes sometimes coattails are a thing. And I will also point out there that there's no shame of acknowledging someone being a tolerable competitor, even if it's just because you brought out the best with them. I mean, that's why the one called Manders is out there winning titles in Germany, is because he's trying to prove me wrong.
Nope. Heat, brother. Yeah. I do respect Judy. We were on when we had our first series of matches before I got sick of her bullshit. Uh I had so much respect for her in the sense of like I truly did learn a lot from her. Outside of wrestling, I learned a lot about Tootie and I learned a lot about wrestling from her because she's been here for a while. She's been in this business for a while, and it would be stupid of me to not admit that. But she's learned a lot. She's been a lot of places. Um, and I did learn a lot from her, but at some point she made me feel as though I was in her shadow. So and I'm like, Skylar Sparks doesn't stand in nobody's shadow first and foremost. So I had to step out of that, and it netted me a championship. So was the right career move.
Very much so, and got you a championship, got you traveling around the country, even if it is through that rivalry. Because and I got to see you in 2D Tangle and Destination Six in Macomb, Illinois, last month. Last month,
Yeah.
timing has no meaning anymore.
Yeah,
I
I
say it's
don't
last
even
month.
know. I don't even know what month we're in.
I think we're in May now. At least at the time of this recording, we're in May now. So I guess it
Oh,
probably
but
would be. April. I don't know. I just had like got like a random text message like, "Hey, you want to go see some wrestling in Macomb?" And I'm like, actually, this is like the first weekend I've had free in a while to say like, yes, let's go do something. Because not gonna lie, I've been
Super.
meaning to go to Destination Six for quite some time, but it's just never been in the schedule for the cards. No pun intended on that.
Yeah.
But so
And they have a great roster too. Like they have a great, Ashlyn Alexander is, I think, like, been their champion for over a year now or something of that nature. I have beef with Ashlyn too, but I can call a spade and say that she's made history over there, and good
yeah.
for her.
No,
Good
and
on her.
she's killing it around, at least around the state of Illinois. I can't speak for interstate exploits, but I know
Yeah.
she's been a top contender in a lot of Illinois promotions. Um,
Yeah.
but speaking of Destination Six, they are a company that utilizes a six-sided ring. How different is that to work in?
It's very different, and their six-sided ring it's different than what TNA's six-sided ring is or was. Um, it's almost
It's not
like
a perfect.
it's not a
it,
perfect six, right? It's almost like a diamond to a degree. That's the kind of the best way that I could explain what it
yeah,
is, but it's very different, right? We as professional wrestlers, we train in a four-sided ring. And people would always tell me, they're like, hey, that watch it, like that ring is gonna bite back when you hit it. So it was an experience nevertheless. It wasn't a bad experience. It was just very different. It honestly made me kind of adjust my game, right? I've never been in a six-sided ring before, so getting in there, it was a new challenge for me. On top of how challenging wrestling is in general, it was a challenge nevertheless for me to just get my bearings. I was like, I don't understand what's going on, which is probably the reason Ashlyn won, is because I was now prepared to be in a six-sided ring because I've never been in a six-sided ring before. So, she had the advantage there.
if nothing else, I would just blame the church. That's what I would do. For those who not aware, D6 runs a church. I forget that what they've renamed it, where there's just like the Destination Six Arena or Destination Six Wrestle Centers, something. But it is an old decommissioned church that they have not bothered to remodel, which therefore, like in my humble opinion, is makes it like by proxy like one of my favorite venues I've ever gotten to attend a show in.
Oh, for sure. It has a lot of character. You can tell it's a church when you first walk in. It's got
Seating is pews.
it's got the seating. It's got the I say the stage. I didn't really grow up in a church, so I'm probably gonna state the wrong structure. But it had like the stage. It had where the pastors would preach, everything like that. I was just like, this is a very odd, surreal moment to be in. So it's fun though. It's so much fun. I love D6, and I hope nothing but the best for them.
Yeah, as I said, it's a neat venue, and then it popped me because one of my favorite local guys is very much uh we'll say chosen by the correct deities, and then got to wrestle for D6, and then of course by proxy, like regardless of how he chose to live inside the six sides, biggest baby face in the company by proxy.
There you go. There you go. See, I don't strive to be the biggest baby face in the company.
Well, neither does he. But you enter a church, you enter the sacred ground, and if you're chosen, you get just you elevate your game.
Exactly.
Um, but no, but yeah, no, D6 is a lot of fun to wrestle. Or at least go watch wrestling. I have not wrestled there, obviously. But kind of on the topic of like strange venues and go off. Let's go on a side tangent. Like what's kind of like the strangest or most unique, barring D6, most unique place you've wrestled in?
Well, as you ask this question, and I've been thinking of that answer, I have now realized I've wrestled in two churches in my wrestling career. I've wrestled in two churches. I actually refereed. this is probably not the politically correct terminology to use, but this is what they told me to use, and they gave me permission. I refereed a midget show in a church, and that was very interesting to reflect back on. Gosh, I think a couple weeks ago, maybe like 2 Fridays ago, St. Louis had their anime convention. So I wrestled at an anime convention. That was very interesting. I've never been before, but I will be going back for multiple reasons because it was in the kindest way, not in any way, not in a bad way. I don't mean this in any kind of derogatory way. It was prime people watching, just very interesting interactions, just seeing people just dressed up in different outfits. I'm like, oh my gosh, this like, I was very impressed with the amount of detail that people put into their outfits to make it look just like the person they're dressing up as. So I absolutely will be going back to that.
I would say cosplay is a big deal. Like there are folks that are like that's their job is to
Yeah.
go around the country and take part in usually in the form of conventions, but taking part in the variations of the cosplay contests because there's cash money involved with it, and obviously it gets reinvested right back into some of those outfits are pretty detailed. This is coming from like a Halloween nerd who like,
Yeah.
but I'm a Halloween nerd on still on a budget, no matter how much.
Party City is just right almost out of the budget. Yeah, it was so much fun, and that was a very unique and interesting crowd because I don't think a lot of the people that when we had a lot of people there, but I don't think a lot of the people were wrestling fans. Like I don't really think they understood wrestling, but they wanted to be entertained, right? And that's 50% of a professional wrestler's job is to entertain the crowd in some way, shape, or form. Man, they were popping for like hip toss or like lost their minds. I was like, oh, you just wait. So that was a very very fun and interactive crowd that you could just go and just have fun. And that's really what wrestling is about. It's just as much having fun for you as it is for the crowd, right? It's a collective experience for all of us.
I agree, and like as a fan of going live, I still think my favorite crowd ever was one event got infiltrated by a bachelorette party. Like they co-eded the wedding party, but they got let in for free because the event was in the back patio of a bar, but like the
Mhm.
party room was only accessible through that back patio, and it wasn't ready yet
Ah.
when they came in. But the company's just like, whatever, yeah, just come in, sit down, and wait for the doors to unlock, and you just watch some wrestling in the meanwhile. And oh, it was so much fun because like their theme was like, I don't know, redneck or something, but they were all in wife beaters and jorts.
That's very on brand. That is very on brand. As you say that, I actually I refereed. I wasn't a wrestler at this point. I refereed a show at a bar outside in August in Missouri. So I
Oh,
tell you all that. I tell you
well
that to
fitting.
tell you this. Hot, humid. Felt like I was trying to breathe in water, right? Couldn't do it. But the wrestling mat was so soaked. I like slipped, like I mean, straight out of a cartoon. Banana peel, boom. Um, but it was so much fun. Like having just a little bit of a rowdy crowd. It was a good time.
Usually if you can get like a show that's easily accessible to the public, it gets extra loud, and
Oh yeah.
like and as I put it, there's levels of drunk, and if you get the folks the right level of drunk, or you can get small kids, like you get the same energy from small kids too. I don't know if I should equate drunk and children, but
I would,
maturity
because it's accurate.
maturity levels seem to drop when alcohol gets involved, but
The drunk people and children are just very easily entertained because they don't have any, like, no guards up. They'll laugh or boo at anything. So it's a very good analogy, very good comparison.
but but yeah, that event was great because like to get like cheap heat, like they would literally just come out and be like, jorts suck, and then like boo, like the loudest boos like you
Like,
may have ever
"Boo."
heard for someone just like
Right.
shitting on cutoff jeans.
You'd think the wrestler like called their dog ugly or something with the way that they booed him.
I would never be caught wearing jorts. Oh, those were fighting words. And then like one of the wrestlers actually like, got out of the ring and challenged like one of the people to an arm wrestling contest, which I think he did just to I think he did just to pull off a one liner because he also lost, which there's no way he should have lost that. The dude has some muscle, but he wasn't that
He
guy
wasn't
muscly. Like
he wasn't that strong.
I think the wrestler threw it just so he could say like this is an arm that can move mountains, but it was beaten by a single jackass, which like is his direct like that quote stuck with me because I love it, absolutely love
That's funny.
it. Shout out to Christian Rose. Uh,
Oh, I know that guy. Yep.
no, he is. I love Christian Rose.
He's a good time.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that like one of those like a local guy that I like deserves so much more because he's good and he's really witty, like which
Oh,
is
very.
elevates him even more in
Yeah.
my humble opinion.
I've shared the locker room with him at D6 quite a few times, and he's always willing to give feedback, and that's honestly just something that it's very invaluable in wrestling. Honest feedback at that.
Yeah, no, he and like yeah, he's so underrated that like I don't think anyone outside of like the immediate Midwest like knows who he is, but he's a 20-year vet
Yep.
and still like I saw him this past weekend at Zoa, and still, I mean, granted, like it's only been a month since I've seen him in Macomb, but
Right.
still has it then too, and but anyway, but yeah, love Christian Rose, so smart, so underrated, and anyway, digressing off of that one, but yeah, crowds crazy go nuts, and so but yeah, so multiple churches. That's crazy go nuts.
Oh,
Have you done like an official unofficial like backyard? Have you done a backyard show? And not what I mean like actual backyard wrestling. I mean like is a real show promoted in someone's backyard, because I had that one like a couple of weeks ago. Someone like pointed out like, dude, I wrestled at a backyard show.
I don't know. So I don't think I'm trying to think. Did I wrestle at a backyard show? I don't think I've wrestled at a backyard show, but I wrestled at a fairground that might as well have been somebody's backyard. So sort of yes, but no.
So no,
Officially no, but in my heart, yes.
I mean, especially if it's county fair, like that's a whole nother beast. Like
Yes. Yes.
because usually it's like they usually empty out, like it's usually the cell barn that they have the wrestling in, so it usually is smells terrible.
We didn't even have that. We had
uh
a tent basically. They had us squished in there like sardines. But I just remember it was so hot. It was July, Illinois, and if anybody's ever seen my ring gear, it's like I'm like tights and a long like pullover kind of esque gear. I'm like basically covered like neck down,
you almost
right?
have like a full bodysuit almost.
Yeah, pretty much. I was like, I think I'm going to pass out from heat stroke. So I was like, man, this in application, this bodysuit was great. Or in theory, this bodysuit was great. In application, in like the hot dead of summer, it is not.
Oh, and tents are deceptively like capture heat, like or like capture the humidity. They don't capture heat. It's the moisture
Yeah.
that they capture really, and
As we say in the Midwest, it's not the heat, it's the humidity.
wow. And as someone who's also been to a myriad of tent shows in one way, shape, or form, though I will say at least they weren't all like small companies. Saw NXT in a tent, so and even
Really?
companies with yeah, they once in a blue moon do like the festival circuit. Saw them at
Mm.
louder than life, in Louisville, Kentucky. They,
Yeah, wait. I feel like yeah, I feel like I remember this. I feel like they were at some music festival too. Um
yeah, they've done louder than life like twice, and I think they've done like some in Europe as well.
Maybe that's what it was. I don't
but
remember, but
like in my case, it'd been like it was like 2015 because I just in the TMI for all my listeners had just started dating my wife, and that was kind of like in a weird moment of trust. She decided that we should travel across like 3 states despite only dating for like 3 months.
that's a keeper. That's a
uh,
keeper.
that
That is wife
is
material.
like I said, say, what are the odds of 2 serial killers being in the same vehicle, right? Uh,
They're low. The odds are low, but they're never
never,
zero.
never zero. But obviously it worked out because
There you go.
it's nearly 10 years now, and now we're just not dragging each other across 3 states to go watch wrestling and music. Now we just try to limit it to one state, and maybe a 3-hour drive instead of 7.
That's a good compromise. That's a good compromise.
But that said, it Louder Than Life is amazing. But yeah, it is physically, like, I mean, probably not as quite as bad as wrestling, but doing like a full on outdoor festival for like an entire weekend, plus then like a 14-hour drive on top of it is. Uh,
I would say they're
I,
pretty comparable. I went to Lollapalooza last year in Chicago. I was like, I fear I'm not making it out of this, but I did somehow. So they're comparable. They're comparable.
I, I would say like the end of it, like it was ZZ Top, and Dawn is like didn't set up to watch that. Like we agreed to stay and check out ZZ Top, but she just laid in the grass.
I
And like
can't say I blame you.
yeah, and some dude come over there and just like, hey man, is she all right? And then of course I'm a dick and I just said like, I know, she just had a bad trip, she's coming down off of it now, she'll be fine. And then like his
Yeah.
his mood changed, but it wasn't for concern for her. He's just like, oh, you holding? Like,
Right.
and that's when she had enough of my BS and no, go away.
Don't listen to him.
I don't know how you made it this far in the conversation. It's obviously full of shit. But she married it. She put a ring on it. So
Good.
I'm her problem now. Hope she learned her lesson.
Exactly. Exactly.
She's gonna listen to this in like 3 weeks because that's when she gets caught up with things, and I'm gonna be in so much trouble. She's gonna yell
Well, if you need a referee, I know some, but it ain't gonna be me.
at me. If it involves me getting my ass kicked, the Wizard CZ is offered to referee any match I might accidentally wander myself into
Oh,
because
yeah.
he's a terrible friend, and that's why he's a podcast competitor, and we don't actually collaborate except when it's random in random stalls at car shows. So that being said, be sure to check out the Card Subject to Change podcast, especially from May 3rd, where I make a random mass appearance. Cheap plug for there you
Man.
go, CZ. Cheap plug. Hijacking this interview to plug CZ. But if we're at that stage where I'm hijacking the show for other projects, suppose we should put you over at least one more time as the NWA World League Wrestling Ladies Champion. Where can we find you in the near future, and where can we find you online?
So, in person this Saturday, I will be at Hooligan Championship Wrestling in Evansville, Indiana. I am taking on Mercy for the NWA World League Wrestling Ladies Championship. She's the hometown girl, but that doesn't mean shit because I'm retaining my title. I'll just
Just
put
that
a
good.
put
Doesn't
a
matter how
stake in it
local they
right
are.
now. Yeah, yeah. It doesn't matter if you have the hometown crowd or not. I hope her family and her friends are in the front row so I can just prove to them how much of a disappointment she truly is. So and then let's see, the 17th, May 17th, I'll be in Bonne Terre, believe that's how you spell it, how you say it, Bonne Terre, Missouri for PWE, Pro Wrestling Epic. And then the 24th, I will be in Kansas City, Missouri for Trailblazer Championship Wrestling. I have a match against Amina Belmont for their women's championship. It's the inaugural women's championship match. So we'll be crowning a brand new champion there. And then you can catch me monthly at World League Wrestling, NWA World League Wrestling. And then on social, it is Skylar _Sparks 1. on all socials. Skylar, Skylar.
And if I do my due diligence, I will throw all the socials in the descriptor. So hopefully, if it's if all the algorithms are correct, they can just click on it. If not, I'll be forced to copy and paste. But such is life. At least we get them going somewhere. But
What can you do? Can't win them all, you know.
well, convenience sometimes is not the name of the game, especially in the realm of professional wrestling.
I know that's right. That's very true.
But Skylar, it's a pleasure to have you on. Good luck this weekend and the next coming weekends, because I don't want, to be real, I don't want to have you on just to have you lose every match, come out of there. It makes me feel bad, but you're getting the confusion bump, baby. So that's you get the extra the extra oomph in there. Not that you not that you need it, not that you actually need it, but it just sounds good on paper when I say things like that, and say it enough, it becomes a catchphrase, and then I get an extra $1 or something a month out of it.
There you go. Hey, yeet caught on. If yeet can catch on, you can make anything catch on.
Let's be real though. Yeet is caught up. Us Midwesterners have been yeeting for a handful of years now.
Oh yeah. I don't even know. It was like a year ago. I tossed something somewhere. I was like, yeet. So I could have been a millionaire by now.
Current TNA knockout Heather Reckless went viral because she got yeeted.
Yes, she did.
got yeeted a very far distance out of the ring into a pile of people.
She is very small, so that's not surprising at all.
And yeah, she got yeeted by a guy. It's like 6'6", nearly 3 bills. So she made some distance, and it went viral enough that one Mr. Cornette had some not nice things to say about it.
Oh well.
Such a but you get good. All publicity is good publicity, right? And if someone with millions of followers are making comments, more people are looking at that footage. But anywho,
if the sun rises, you best believe Jim Cornette's got something to say about something. Good, bad, or indifferent.
Well, and it's not just him. Opinions are like assholes, right? Everyone's got one.
Yeah, fair. That's fair.
But again, thank you for coming on the show. Best of luck on your we'll call it upcoming tour the next couple of weekends, and just continue to kill it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm doing my best.
The Confusion Wrestling Podcast is a weekly podcast that is written and performed by Rob Kammer and hosted by Spotify for podcasters. The background music for this section is Ruined by Day, performed by Alan Schroeder. If you enjoyed this podcast and would like to help support, please like, subscribe, and tell your friends, family, and enemies. Leaving a review is helpful as well, because word-of-mouth advertisement is very important for us small podcasts. My social media links can be found in the description, but Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky are at The Nova of Cass. That's TheNovaofCass, and Facebook is MLW Confusion, all one word. If you'd like to support monetarily and help upgrade my equipment, please check out my virtual tip jar at ko-fi.com/Casanova, or if you prefer more bang for your buck, go to patreon.com/Casanova, that's CASSONOVA, where for as little as $2, backers get access to the podcast early and without those pesky ads, plus other exclusive content. So join the crew that is headed up by Keith Wynn, Alan Schroeder, Chris Zach, and Elenia, and check it out. You can also find t-shirts, coffee mugs, and other merch at the Confusion Podcast store on Teespring. Also, be sure to check out the affiliate links in the descriptor below. For business inquiries such as ads, sponsorships, and etc., please email rzkamer, Kamer, at comcast.net. Thank you all for listening.